Okay, I think we're live. So, I want to introduce you guys. This is called, depending on where you are or what school you've been in, this is a post training exercise. So, standing like a post or a tree trunk exercise, rooting, grounding, you might hear those words thrown around. But this pose incorporates all the principles of standing in Tai Chi. So, there's a lot of principles to remember. Okay, so the first one is I want to have my feet squarely on the ground. Okay, now one of the things that we talk about in Tai Chi is our foot placement. Okay, so what that means is here are my feet on the ground, and as I stand, okay, you can see this. So my knees are bent, but I don't want to put my knees much past my toes. Okay, if you take a look at me in the camera here, this puts a tremendous amount of stress on my kneecap. Okay, so if I do this over a long period of time, I can really hurt my knee. So I always want to have, I always call it a little crescent moon, just that little circle that shows me the very tips of my toes. All right, so that's my placement. As for my feet themselves, okay, I want my weight mostly on the heel. So I should be able to pick my toes up. Okay, that's a big one. So when I'm coming forward like this and I'm standing and I'm in my pose, I want to just check. Can I lift my toes? It doesn't have to be far. I just want to make sure I can pick them off the ground. What that means is that most of my weight is back behind the heel, okay, and being driven into the ground from above. If I'm too far forward, okay, where my heels are coming up or I'm leaned, then I run the risk of falling, okay, or I run the risk of displacing my balance going too far over. So I always want to be firmly rooted on the heel, okay. I have those knees bent. Up here, I'm not sticking my butt way out, okay? It's not like a skiing situation, okay, where I'm coming like this. All right, that butt is actually tucked inward. So if anything, it's kind of a tuck from inside, so that tailbone is faced inward. Okay, that pelvis is thrust forward. And this configuration here creates a solid base, okay? So one of the things I like to do to illustrate this principle is show people the wrong thing before I show them the right thing, okay? So I want everybody to stand with their feet together like this and their hands at their sides. Okay, I want you to stick your chest out like you just joined the Marine Corps, okay? And I want you to put your head up, looking towards the ceiling, and I want you to close your eyes. Now, you should start to feel a little bit like you're going to fall. You should start to feel a little bit wavering to the side and things like that. You might find yourself catching yourself, all right? So now, let's put those feet shoulder width apart. Let's bend those knees like I showed you, okay? And now, I want you to close your eyes again. You should feel considerably more stable. Okay, the reason being is that when I'm up like this, my center of gravity is right between my breasts. It's right at the very center of my chest. And when I open up like this, it actually drops down into my waist. Okay, my true center of gravity is right here. My waist is where all my action comes from. It's where all my movement comes from. Okay, so I want to make sure this waist is nice and loose, but I also want to recognize that for me to put a foot forward, even just to walk to the kitchen, right? I have to move that waist, okay? This core is always activated, okay? So when I come in like this and I bend those knees, I'm bringing that center of gravity down into my core, okay? So that covers sort of the trunk end of it, all right? Or the lower half, all right? So the upper half is I want my arms to be relaxed, okay? So what I do is I get into this pose right here, okay? And this is what it looks like from the side. So my elbows aren't winged out like this, okay? They're nice and close to my body. Okay, I want to imagine almost like I've got a little ping pong ball under my armpits, and I have just enough room underneath to hold them there loosely, but I'm not trying to squeeze them. I'm not trying to crack any eggs, okay? I'm not making a fist. I'm not real tight, okay? My hands are about level with the bridge of my nose, okay? And there's a little space in between them, and I'm gazing through it. And it's called a lazy gaze or a non-diffused gaze. So I'm not really trying to stare, laser beam. I'm just letting my eyes relax, okay? And what's happening on the side is my shoulders are relaxed. I'm not hunched like this. I'm not hunched over like that, okay? So this is my basic pose. This is my tree pose, okay? And the last principle is I have this little string. I want to imagine I have this little thread that's holding me upright, okay? Now this is a trick for a lot of people because they imagine as soon as they do this, they want to come up on their toes to kind of go along with the string, okay? So this is where you kind of separate a little bit. That base, those legs, stay rooted to the ground, okay? That string pulls the torso. So it pulls basically from the waist up. So when I pull this imaginary string, I'm not standing up any straighter. I'm just letting my spine straighten up. So if you feel it anywhere, you should feel it in here, in this abdominal area, coming up like this, okay? And you can feel a little bit if you make that up motion, okay? It's the same thing. So I imagine this little string. Now, if I were a puppet on a string, as this string pulled up, my chin would tuck in a little bit, okay? So I wouldn't come up like this, okay? I would come up a little bit with my chin tucked in, all right? So I have my strong base, my feet are shoulder width apart, my weight is on my heels, my knees are bent, my pelvis is forward, okay? My arms are in this position, they're hung down, okay? And I've got this little thread. Now this activates all the principles of Tai Chi, but I would say if you forget all of this and don't remember anything else, as soon as I bend those knees, okay, so look, I can get in that position right now, okay, but as soon as I bend those knees, I can feel that I've achieved Tai Chi principles, okay? So from here, folded down, okay, I've got my hands out like this, and I can test this, okay? I can bounce a little bit, I can go from side to side, but I should feel like I'm driven into the earth. And if you ever see, you know, like a picture at the mound, or if you ever see a weightlifter, they call it spreading the ground, where they kind of screw into the ground a little bit. It's that feeling, okay? So these are all the physical aspects, and don't worry if you don't get it 100%. Those of you who are new to Tai Chi tends to be very complex in the beginning, and it grows simpler over time. But in the beginning, you actually want your brain to be kind of stuttered a little bit. You want it to pause a little bit because that's new neurons working. That's new pathways. So neuroplasticity, baby. Anyway, here I am. I'm in this principle like this, okay? And what I'm going to do now from the mental aspect is I'm going to imagine like a tree, okay? So you drive by, you see a tree outside the car window, and you see the top half of the tree, right? You see the trunk, you see the leaves, you see the branches, but you don't see the root system that goes underneath, okay? So if I imagine myself like a tree, okay, and I've got myself planted firmly into the ground like this, okay, just like a tree would, this right here, this line is where my trunk ends. My root system goes far into the earth. So underneath me I have a cellar. So I imagine I'm going into the cellar, I'm going past the ground, I'm going deep down to the center of the earth because all of us are aligned. So here's the globe, and we're all on the surface, and we're all pointing towards that middle of the earth all the time. Okay, so I'm aligning myself with gravity as much as I can, okay? I'm sunk into the earth. Okay, I've got all my principles, I'm like a tree. And now, I always say the second principle is breathing, the second part of this. The first is the gross physical structure, and the second is the breathing. So, this is your dantian in Chinese, okay? This is your central pillar. And this is a spot that's about 3 finger widths down from your belly button and about 2 finger widths in, okay? You can call it the dantian, you can call it the energy center, you can call it the true center of gravity, okay? But it's sort of this sort of mythical focal point. It's a place for our mind to go, all right? So when I'm breathing, I'm focused on this dantian. I'm actually trying to breathe into it, okay? So imagining almost like it's like a third lung down there, okay? So I'm standing like this, and when I breathe in, I'm breathing down into this dantian. So I'm drawing air through my nose, down into this deep dantian, okay? And then when I breathe out, instead of breathing up this way, I'm directing it down further through my pelvis, down through my legs, down through my feet, deep into the earth. And I want to imagine that I'm nourishing roots deep down into the ground, okay? So I take a nice inhale, fill that belly, fill that dantian area, and then deep into the earth, okay? And I want to feel that flow through my heels. So I inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And the breathing is very straightforward. There's no movement in this form. It's just very simple. I breathe down into the belly and then down into the earth. So the mechanics of this aren't very complex, but what's going on internally is very grounding. So every time I breathe in, I'm focused on this belly. This is the E, this is the mind part of it, okay? My intention is going down into the belly, and then it's going down through my pelvis, down into the ground, down under the earth, okay? And if I want to put a picture in my mind, I want to picture my root system flourishing and growing, and as a result, I become a much more stable tree. So I know today that you guys were very excited that you would be a plant. So there you go. All right, so let's do a few more. So I'm going to inhale and exhale and inhale and exhale. Last one, nice inhale. Here's it from the side. Nice inhale and relax. Okay. I'm going to be back with a basic Tai Chi warm-up. Okay, so make sure you guys drink some water. I'll see you guys in a couple minutes.